blessed and broke the loaves, and gave to the disciples to set before them. And the 2 fishes he divided among them all. And they all ate, and were filled. And they took up fragments filling 12 baskets, and part of the fishes. And they who ate of the loaves were 5,000 men. And straightway he constrained his disciples to enter into the ship, and to go before to the other side of Bethsaida, while he dismissed the multitude. And having taken leave of them, he went away into the mountain to pray. And when evening was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he was alone on the land. And he saw them distressed in rowing, for the wind was contrary to them. And about the 4th watch of the night he comes to them, walking on the sea, and would have passed by them. And they, seeing him walking on the sea, supposed it was a spectre, and cried out. For all saw him, and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them, and says to them, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And he went up to them into the ship, and the wind ceased. And they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered. For they considered not the loaves, for their heart was hardened. And passing over, they came to the land of Gennesaret, and anchored there. And when they had come out of the ship, immediately recognizing him, they ran through all that region, and began to carry about on beds those who were sick, where they heard he was. And wherever he entered, into villages or cities or fields, they laid the sick in the marketplaces, and besought him that they might touch, if it were but the fringe of his garment. And as many as touched him were made whole. Chapter 7. And there come together to him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes, who came from Jerusalem. And seeing some of his disciples eating bread with defiled, that is, unwashen hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they carefully wash their hands, do not eat, holding the tradition of the elders. And coming from the market, except they immerse themselves, they do not eat. And there are many other things which they received to hold, immersions of cups, and pots, and brazen vessels, and couches. And the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, Why do not thy disciples walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with defiled hands? And he said to them, Well did Isaiah prophesy concerning you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, immersions of pots and cups, and many other such things ye do. And he said to them, Well do ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition. For Moses said, Honor thy father and thy mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him surely die. But ye say, If a man say to his father or his mother, It is Korban, that is, a gift, whatever thou mightest be profited with from me, and ye suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother, annulling the word of God by your tradition, which ye handed down, and many such things ye do. And again calling to him the multitude, he said to them, Hearken to me, every one, and understand. There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him. But the things that come out of him, these are they that defile the man. If any one has ears to hear, let him hear. And when he entered into the house from the multitude, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he says to them, Are ye so without understanding also? Do ye not perceive that whatever from without enters into the man cannot defile him? Because it enters not into his heart, but into the belly, and goes out into the drain, cleansing all food. And he said, That which comes out of the man, that defiles the man. For from within, out of the heart of men come forth evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, wantonness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come forth from within, and defile the man. And rising up, he departed thence into the borders of Tyre and Sidon. And entering into a house, he desired that no one should know it. And he could not be hidden. For a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit, hearing of him, came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by nation, and she besought him that he would cast out the demon from her daughter. And he said to her, Let the children first be filled, for it is not good to take the children's bread, and cast it to the dogs. And she answered and said to him, Yea, Lord, for the dogs under the table eat of the children's crumbs. And he said to her, For this saying go thy way, the demon has gone out of thy daughter. And departing to her house, she found the little child laid on the bed, and the demon gone out. And again going forth out of the borders of Tyre, he came through Sidon to the sea of Galilee, through the midst of the borders of Decapolis. And they bring to him one that was deaf, and had an impediment in his speech, and they beseech him to put his hand upon him. And taking him aside from the multitude, he put his fingers into his ears, and spitting, touched his tongue, and looking up to heaven, he sighed, and says to him, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And straightway his ears were opened, and the bond of his tongue was loosed, and he spoke plainly. And he charged them that they should tell no one. But the more he charged them, the more abundantly they published it, and were beyond measure astonished, saying, He has done all things well. He makes both the deaf to hear, and the dumb to speak. Chapter 8. In those days, there being a very great multitude, and they having nothing to eat, he called to him his disciples, and says to them, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days, and have nothing to eat. And if I dismiss them fasting to their own houses, they will faint by the way, and some of them have come from afar. And his disciples answered him, From whence will one be able to satisfy these men with bread, here in a wilderness? And he asked them, How many loaves have ye? And they said, 7. And he commanded the multitude to lie down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and gave thanks, and broke, and gave to his disciples to set before them. And they set them before the multitude. And they had a few small fishes, and having blessed them, he commanded to set these also before them. And they ate, and were filled. And they took up of the fragments that were left 7 baskets. And they were about 4,000, and he dismissed them. And straightway entering into the ship with his disciples, he came into the region of Dalmanutha. And the Pharisees came out and began to question with him, seeking of him a sign from heaven, tempting him. And sighing deeply in his spirit, he says, Why does this generation seek a sign? Verily I say to you, there shall no sign be given to this generation. And leaving them, he entered again into the ship, and departed to the other side. And they forgot to take bread, and they had none in the ship with them except 1 loaf. And he charged them, saying, Take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have no bread. And Jesus, knowing it, says to them, Why reason ye because ye have no bread? Do ye not yet perceive nor understand? Have ye your heart yet hardened? Having eyes, do ye not see? And having ears, do ye not hear? And do ye not remember? When I broke the 5 loaves among the 5,000, how many baskets full of fragments did ye take up? They say to him, 12. And when the 7 among the 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments did ye take up? And they said, 7. And he said to them, How is it that ye do not understand? And they come to Bethsaida, and they bring to him a blind man, and beseech him to touch him. And taking the blind man by the hand, he led him forth out of the village. And spitting in his eyes, and putting his hands on him, he asked him if he beheld anything. And looking up, he said, I behold men, for I see them as trees walking. Then again he put his hands on his eyes, and he saw clearly, and he was restored, and saw all things distinctly. And he sent him away to his house, saying, Go not even into the village, nor tell it to any in the village. And Jesus went out and his disciples into the villages of Caesarea Philippi. And in the way he asked his disciples, saying to them, Who do men say that I am? And they answered him, saying, John the Immerser, and others Elijah, and others one of the prophets. And he asked them, But who do ye say that I am? And Peter answering says to him, Thou art the Christ. And he charged them that they should tell no one concerning him. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected by the elders, and the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he spoke that saying openly. And Peter, taking him aside, began to rebuke him. But he, turning about, and seeing his disciples, rebuked Peter, saying, Get thee behind me, Satan!